Okay, guys, so you have been asking so much for the part two of this creepy story. My wife has been missing for 15 years until she called my phone out of the blue. So I finally got around to reading it for you guys. So the original writer of this story on Reddit said that this wasn't originally meant to have a part two, so he kind of had to pull this story out of his you know what. Hopefully you guys like part two as much as part one. I haven't read it yet, so here we go, guys. I could hear her clearly now. Daniel? Daniel, thank goodness I finally reached you. The voice was definitely coming from inside the house. Daniel, it's me. It's Sarah. Are you there? Panic rose in my chest. I don't believe in supernatural, but all signs were pointing to something horrifying occurring. Something beyond a scam caller desperate for money. My mind was a mess, debating whether to stay out of morbid curiosity or run as fast as I could out the door and never look back. The rustling was so loud now that it was drowning out any chance of logical thoughts. Daniel? Daniel, thank goodness I finally reached you. The shrill voice cut through my panic. Daniel, it's me. It's Sarah. Are you there? It sounded even closer to me now, like the source of the voice could be only a few meters away. Hello? I call out, hearing slow, small footsteps. Hello? Is anybody there? I stay rooted to the spot, my legs paralyzed in fear. I still didn't know what was happening here, and I wasn't about to risk my life. Suddenly, it was as if someone had flicked on a switch. The loud, eerie rustling came to a stop, almost being sucked out of the room like a vacuum. I noticed that the footsteps had stopped too, and after a few moments of terrifying silence, the voice also seemed to have gone. I started to walk downstairs, my hands still shaking. What was that? What just happened to me? Could there be a chance that after all these years, I was going crazy? I rushed down the stairs to the phone, yanking the wires out and disconnecting it. I couldn't let a scam caller get inside of my head. I didn't leave my house at all that day. The fear still made my head spin and my heart pound in my chest. There was no logical explanation for what had happened. I didn't know what to think. When I woke up the next day, it was like something had changed. Something was different and it wasn't in my mind. It was almost like overnight, everything had shifted. I wasn't an avid reader, but I had a small bookshelf in my bedroom with about 5 or 6 books on it. For some reason, it was looking a little empty. Was that just my imagination? I got out of bed and walked downstairs. I needed to get a glass of water. Clearly, my mind was going into overdrive. I was starting to become paranoid. I opened my drawer to get a butter knife for my slice of toast when something caught my eye. An empty space in my knife rack. Every other knife was in the slot, apart from one. I could feel a lump in my throat. Knives don't just go missing. I pulled my mobile phone out of my pocket, not even daring to touch the landline, and called my friend, Adam. I really was going crazy. Some sort of delayed guilt response, I guess. Whatever it was, I was afraid. Adam, I hissed into my phone. I don't know what's happening to me, but I need you to come over right now. I think I'm going crazy. Adam promised that he was on his way and I didn't have to wait for long before he was at my door. When I let him in, he seemed concerned. What happened? He asked me. Your call really freaked me out. You sounded really scared. I think I'm going crazy, I explained as we sat down. I'm seeing things, imagining things. I think it's something to do with Sarah. Losing your wife is tough, Adam agreed. Right. He doesn't know what really happened to Sarah. I know how that feels. 10 years ago, Adam's wife Laura had suffered a fate similar to Sarah. She had gone out to work one day and never returned. It was tough on me because Laura, being her best friend, was the closest thing that I had to my Sarah. It was 15 years ago, I said wide-eyed. How is it only hitting me now? About a year after Laura went missing, I really broke down, Adam told me. I started getting really paranoid and suspicious. It took a few years of therapy for me to fully accept everything. I nodded, pretending to understand. Therapy won't help me. It seems like nothing will help me. I pretended to listen to the rest of Adam's advice until he had to leave. I told him that I would try out some of his coping methods, but in reality, I had no intention on doing so. That night, I found myself tossing and turning, obsessing over everything that had happened. The phone calls, the disappearances, I couldn't sleep. Begrudgingly, I got out of bed and walked over to my medication cabinet in search of sleeping pills. I didn't use them often, just when I couldn't sleep. I felt around in the cabinet for the pills, but they were nowhere. I flicked on the lights and looked again. They were missing. And this wasn't my mind playing tricks on me. This was happening. I raced down to my basement. I don't step foot in the basement often. It just reminds me of everything. It reminds me of them. Because that's where they were. The victims. That's right. I said victims. Multiple. It started with only Sarah, but I couldn't live with myself knowing that her lover was still out there. The man who had tempted my Sarah away. He had to go. I lured him to my house with a great plan. Once he was there, I got him a drink and we talked. A drink laced with sleeping pills. He was dead within an hour. The next one was Laura, Adam's wife. She didn't just go missing. She was killed. And I did it. I had a good reason. She found me out. She found out what I did to Sarah. She had rushed over to my house to confront me. In a panic, I killed her. I killed her with the book from my bedroom. One sharp blow to the head and she was gone. And the knife was Sarah. I didn't want her to be afraid. I couldn't have that. She was my Sarah, and I loved her. I didn't want to frighten her. So I stabbed her in the back, like she stabbed me in the back by cheating. I stabbed her with that knife from my knife rack. She fell to the floor like a sleeping angel and was gone. And the knife was in my hands, but I didn't put it there. My vision was clouded, but I could see that I was standing in my basement. How did I get here? I don't remember the past few minutes, but my hands close around the bottle of sleeping pills, these sleeping pills. I try to bring it up to my face, my entire body swaying. My sight keeps going and reappearing, and all I can feel is the blood rushing around my body. I feel a small, heavy object. I'm holding the book now, but that's impossible. I drop the book to the floor, my legs suddenly buckling under me. I fall to the ground, just like each of my victims, my eyes closing slowly. I can't feel a thing anymore. I imagine this is what happened to them. I imagine that this is what they felt too. Just before my eyelids close, I almost think I can see something in front of me. A face I know so well. Sarah, my Sarah.